protect and further life and religion and property, and is similar to the U.S. Constitution, where it talks about life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But I heard his sermon once, Imam Faisal of the Rove, and he said something which I want he said that the meaning of Islam is to submit to the will of God, and so a Muslim is anybody who is the submitted one in his actions, not by word, but through all his living, the one who seems to have taken his ego or his out of the center and substituted that of God's will. And then he said, such a person could be a Christian, could be a Jew, could be a Hindu, could be a Buddhist. And then he stopped. And then he said, and such a person could even be an atheist. But by the definition of the Quran, if he is the submitted one in his actions, he will be a Muslim. That's a pretty radical point of view. But that is a point of view which basically says that there are many paths to truth.
There was a 20th century Roman Catholic theologian named Karl Rahner who talked about anonymous Christians, something of the same concept, that you don't have to even be a professing believer in Jesus Christ, but if you live a life of love and care for other people, and if you are devoted to something beyond yourself, then you're part of God's family. And God's family is very broad in that way. And you mentioned before how we humans build these constructs to define and exclude, and I'm not aware that God does that. God is continually breaking those apart so that more and more people can be included in the path to God. And in my understanding, the more people who grow closer to God or who live a God-like life pleases God.
Right.
And God isn't about limiting, God is about expanding.
I mean, the national, they call it the national poet, but Muhammad Iqbal, he's actually recognized as a great poet, not just of Pakistan, but in India and Iran. And in his famous Javed Nama, which is a long, long poem, one of the he goes by the same, by behavior rather than profession of belief, and assigns a Hindu Brahman top sort of position in the heaven out there because of his conduct, his personal conduct. And this is the national poet of Pakistan.
See, it's important to keep in mind that the faith is supposed to bring about a change in a human being, and that change should result in changes in our behavior towards others. And that's, I think, going to be the critical part in understanding this, is that if I cannot live my faith, I can be praying 24/7 or 5 times a day, which should result in my changes in my behavior towards my fellow human beings and respect towards my fellow human beings. I think that's what is the ultimate goal as well.
Yeah.
And then again, the importance of being righteous is the critical thing. One more point I want to make is if God had to give a message to humans, and God in his ultimate wisdom knew that we are going to forget something, so he was going to give that message again and again. So in the Quran, 114 times God has mentioned that I'm the most gracious and the most merciful. Most gracious, most merciful. 114 times. So that sort of gives an idea that we are forgetting the graciousness and the mercifulness of God. And then we are taking on a role of godliness, God forbid, of judging other people.
But that's typically human, isn't it? When we practice, we say our prayers, you said 5 times, we're really thinking we're chalking up some credits up there, right? Running a huge big bank balance, and it's just our bank balance, only our salvation. We're really not concerned what the other message of God is for us. We think we are just going to be rich now in salvation.
Well, and that also means I'm good and maybe you're not so.
You're not so
holy and you're not so holy.
Right.